So I'd made some new hires. We had so much going on. We were really busy. On the 2nd of January, my son was diagnosed with AML leukemia, which changed everything.
What happens when life throws you a challenge that's so devastating it forces you to question everything? Have you ever been so consumed by work that you ignored the warning signs in your personal life? And what does it take to finally admit, I cannot do this anymore, and make real change?
I basically ran my business from his bedside for 9 months. And at that point I was like, I can't do this. I just can't carry on in the way that I'm trying to do hands-on stuff. I've got to get out of the business. And that was a big turning point.
In today's episode, I'm joined by Rowan Marriott, a powerhouse entrepreneur and ambassador for Cure Leukemia, who shares his deeply personal story. When his 12-year-old son was diagnosed with leukemia, Rowan's world came crashing down. Rowan reveals 3 life-changing shifts that's redefined his identity as a business owner, and more importantly, as a dad.
It put everything into perspective. All the things that I thought were important before, they might not be as important, and the things that are really, truly important now are my focus.
It's raw, it's emotional, and it's filled with lessons that can transform how you approach both business and life. This episode is sponsored by CWCS Managed Hosting. It's fast, it's secure, and it's reliable. Let's do this.
He asked me, have I got cancer? Yeah, you have. Am I going to die? No, you're not. You promised me. Can't promise you that, but you're not. And he believed me.
ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business. Let's face the tiger, Rowan Marriott. Unfortunately, your business couldn't grow without you, and we have to honestly accept that. And that is a reality for many, many people listening right now. There is a dependency on them to grow the business. Now, ideally, we don't want that to happen, but I know there's a story behind this. What is the story behind your business not being able to grow without you?
Yeah, so it's like it's got a fairy tale ending. I'll start with the end, but then basically I set up a business. We're just going into our 3rd year, almost to the day, and I set up a business, which is something I've always wanted to do, and I had a great first year. It was absolutely flying. I basically intended to be a consultant when I left my job, to help other companies with their resourcing strategy and heads of resourcing, support them basically to navigate what is a really noisy market. And I became like a one-man advertising agency very quickly, because I've done it in the past, and it kind of naturally flew into that. Had a really good story to tell and a formula which was working. And in the first year, I probably spoke to 10 clients and won all of them. It was incredible. Unbelievable hit rate.
Glorious start.
Yeah, and you know what? And I've been in sales nearly all my life, selling for other ad agencies, and it's much easier when it's your thing and it's your passion, it's your creation, it's your USPs, and you're telling your own story. And I think this is part of what makes it so difficult for small business owners, because I speak to many of them who have the similar problems where they've got everything lined up, they've got their USPs, their story, but they struggle to grow without them leading the way. And probably like most small business owners, I don't want to always be the person leading the way at the coalface doing the sales bit. I want to come up with ideas and all the rest of it. So yeah, year 1 was phenomenal, and I got to December, so it's a calendar year.
Basically, 10 key sales that pretty much all of them went over the line. Yeah. You brought the money in. They all said yes to you based on the relationship that you already had with them, the reputation you had. And beautiful. Yeah,
and it worked. So with client retention was amazing, and what we were doing, I was pinching myself constantly. People started referring to me as the expert. It was dead funny because I'm like, what, me? So I had imposter syndrome big time. That was the first challenge that my coach had to get me out of. So yeah, I got to the end of the first year, and I spent December planning year 2. It was going to be awesome. Everybody was backing me. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. And I've kind of learned in being an employee from different bosses, all of whom I respect and have learned loads from. I've learned what I didn't want to be like. So I wanted to hire senior people who've been there and done it the best in the industry. I wanted to cherry pick them so that our clients would get the very best. I didn't want to hire a team of junior people, which was me back in the day, working really hard, pay them not very much, and expect big things. So I kind of set up everything in an ideal scenario, going into our year 2, and then the story begins with year 2. On the 2nd of January, my son was diagnosed with AML leukemia, which changed everything. Absolutely changed everything. So
when was that?
So that was in January, really early January. So he was a bit poorly over Christmas. General kind of, everyone was ill over Christmas, but he was pale. My other half talked me into taking him to the doctors, which I begrudgingly did. Glad I did. And he basically said, "Yeah, you're probably best getting him
on the
checked."
way into the doctors, you didn't really want to go. You didn't think there was anything of it.
No, I'm thinking, let's go home, get on with it. We don't do colds in our family. I've never been ill. All the rest of it. I'm not like that anymore, by the way, much. But so the doctor shared my opinion. He said if it was just the symptoms, I'd say, yeah, go home and crack on. But he was pale, really pale. So he said, just take him to the hospital, get him checked out. So I went past our house, picked up a toothbrush and some PJs just in case. And an hour later, I was phoning Becky, telling her that our son's got leukemia and we're about to get taken to Alder Hospital in an ambulance to start chemotherapy with immediate effect. And then I had to go in and tell Jack. So it was horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Do you remember the day?
I'll never forget it. It was I can't think of the word. It didn't seem real. It was surreal. It was bizarre. You'd seen it so many times. I've described this quite a few times to people where there's a couple of things. One is when you get told. So you've seen it, everyone's watched Casualty or whatever, and you get taken to the side room and they're like, right, we've got some news to tell you. Here you go. And it was like, really? It was unbelievable. And the second part of it is when you think of children's cancer, of leukemia, it always feels like it's over there. So you see the mascots going out at Anfield or Old Trafford. I've got to mention that. I don't know why I went with Anfield first, but you see them and you think, oh, that's really bad, but it's always miles away until it's you. And then it's just mad. It's a crazy experience. I won't wish it on anyone. And it happens so much more often than people would think. So there's a lot of work going on. I have to mention a charity called Cure Leukemia, who are doing some amazing things to help basically create a network to help cure cancer in kids, which is amazing.
Yeah, look, I remember. So go, that day that it happened, what thought went through your head about your business? Or did it even come into your head?
Well, I'd love to say it didn't come into my head, but I'm one of them people that kind of never switches off, or at least I used to be. I think that is changing, which is part of the fairy tale ending, I hope. So I had a lot of things on the go. I had quite a few projects that I was working on personally. I had a new team. It's funny. So we're talking a year ago here, and I met one of my last hires for the second time since I hired her about a week ago, which is just mad when you think about it.
This episode is sponsored by CWCS Managed Hosting, empowering businesses to thrive with tailored, fully managed hosting solutions delivered with a personal touch. Now back to the podcast.
So I'd made some new hires. I had this whole big grand plan. We had so much going on. We were really busy. So I suppose my first thought was, how am I going to manage this? What am I going to do? But everything happened so much. So the first 2 days, I didn't sleep. I was just Googling stuff, which, by the way, never do that if you're ever in that situation because it's frightening. So I was just kind of being led by the healthcare professionals. And there's some amazing people who are really candid and kind of guide you through it. I think the first few days actually is a bit of a blur. And then going into the next week, I spoke to my coach who basically asked me, what do you want to do? What is it you want to do now with the business? And I was like, I just want to crack on exactly. I want to do exactly what I said I wanted to do. I don't want this to change even more now than ever before. And he was like, right, okay, that's what we're going to do then. It wasn't as easy as that. And it didn't quite work out like that, but that was my intention.
How did it work out? What was the reality?
So the reality is, I'd always planned that I was probably going to take a month off in December this year, 2024, to test the business. So, from the whole invoicing cycle, so you take an order, you win a project, you deliver the project, you invoice for it. So I was going to step out and let the business flow. And if it could do that, then amazing. I've built, a machine that works without me, kind of thing. That was always the dream. I was forced into that a year too early, and basically had to ask my team to step up.
How many people did you have?
We had 6 people in the business, and then my brother, who proper older brother scenario, having never done anything like it before, absolute godsend. Came and picked up on some projects that I was working on, and worked with me kind of behind the scenes in the evenings and things like that to help out. So 7 of us, but 6 people in the business. And like I said before, they were all senior, they all know what they're doing. But we were a new company. I'm chaotic. Most people in my situation probably are, but I am chaotic. And so certain things had to change. And there's a lot of unpicking of what was in Rowan's head that had to kind of come into the team and be dealt with. And the one thing that happened really well was the kind of steadying of the ship. So all the clients, they've been so supportive. Everybody has. But the team kept them all happy. The customer service, we've got a gold standard customer service charter that we drafted on day one. And we were true to that. Everybody that's in the team, we all share the same values, and that has shone through. So
what's the gold standard?
So it's basically where we've broken down what does absolute, gold standard customer service look like. So unexpected brilliance, so not waiting for reports, not chasing reports, having things land on your desk that you could use with your own line managers, and it makes you look good. Spotting things like we do media buying as one example, and more often than not, you will have companies that spend quite a bit on media, and they've got lots of different vacancies, but they might spend money on certain vacancies where they just shouldn't. It should be free. Using some of the job board media out there, it should be free applications, free to hire. There's a lot of organic traffic, so we spot those things. We don't just let it go. We don't let clients spend money on things they shouldn't. We protect budgets. So we've done that throughout, which I think is, and we've built great relationships. So we invest time in building those relationships with our clients, and we're just kind of normal. There's no falseness about us. We're very transparent.
So you've got a good philosophy and maybe some systems and process around this gold standard service, which help you to retain all your clients.
Yeah.
But the reality is that through a period of uncertainty in your personal life, your business didn't really grow, did it?
It didn't. It didn't at all. It went the other way. So we performed behind what we did the year before from January onwards, because we'd been steadily growing. So we never had a problem with delivery, but that was always, where, if you think of it like a conveyor belt, that was the next part that I thought was going to not break but needed addressing, is how are we going to get those systems and processes in place? We had the people, but they weren't all in the right seats, which is another massive learning. But I had the right people to deliver the work, so that wasn't an issue. But then we were unable to bring new clients on board. And there was a period of time in the early diagnosis where it was like, I might have only been out for 2 months out of the business properly, in which case, would it be all right? Is it okay to wait till I'm back in? But that just went on, and it went on for 9-10 months, which was just too long. And we didn't grow. And it was painful, because we had the story, we had all the assets, we had case studies, but it was difficult to, I suppose, tell the story like I could do as the business owner.
So your business wasn't growing. Your
Yep.
son was in hospital. What's your son's name?
Jack.
So how old was Jack when he got diagnosed?
12.
And he's a Man U fan, is he?
No, he's a Liverpool fan. He thinks he's a Liverpool fan, but yeah, no, he is a Liverpool fan.
So little Jack is a Liverpool fan, and you're a Man United fan.
Yeah.
So he's diagnosed at 12.
Yeah.
You're with him each step of the way.
Yeah, every step of the way, because I've got 4 boys, and it was a bit of role reversal, because Becky's like, she's really caring. She worries about everything. I worry about not much, and but Jack, he was happy with me being by his side, and he believed me, basically. So when he asked me, have I got cancer? Yeah, you have. Am I going to die? No, you're not. Do you promise me? Can't promise you that, but you're not. And he believed me. And whilst that belief was there, and I could see that, we basically had a plan. We'd end each day and we'd have a happy moment, whether it's watching something on YouTube or watching a movie or something like that. And we pretty much achieved that, which is incredible considering what he went through. So I basically ran my business with my team obviously supporting from his bedside for 9 months, which is crazy when I think about it.
So basically, in your spare time between Jack, you ran your business on a laptop, on a phone, from the hospital.
Yeah. So for the first 3 months, it was a bit of a running joke with the nurses, because I was pacing up and down the corridors, nicking rooms when the doctors had walked out, and I'd jump in and I'd do a meeting. But it all came to a T one day. Another day I'll never forget is I was running a workshop. It was an online workshop with, I think it was about 10 in-house recruiters on this workshop, and it was like a mindset, best practice type workshop. Jack was asleep in the bed there. It was early morning, and he'd been sleeping quite soundly for the last few days. So I thought I'd get away with it. It was a 2-hour workshop, and I opened up, I gave them their first task, and Jack woke up and he was sick, and we had doctors and nurses coming left, right and centre. It was horrible. I got through the workshop. It wasn't the best, as you can imagine. I was looking after Jack in between tasks and all that, but I was sweating, and I was shaking afterwards. And at that point, I was like, I can't do this. I just can't carry on in the way that I'm trying to do hands-on stuff. I've got to get out of the business, and that was a big turning point. And it was worrying for me, because I thought we were going to lose work. I thought we were going to, mess up on projects, etc. But I think that's where my first kind of learning and first message I would pass on is that you hire people, and you hire them for a reason. And I said, I cherry picked him. I don't think I'm a control freak, but at this point I had to let them go. I had to empower them and let them be and do what they do. And what's come out of it is that they do it better than I do, and they do things I don't want to do way better than I do. And I wonder if it wasn't for the situation for Jack, whether that would have changed. I don't know, but coming out the other end of it now, that's what it's like. So we've got, everybody now is in the right seat. I've got the right people in the right seat, which is not what it was going into all this. But then we're struggling to grow. So it was like the roles had been reversed. It wasn't a worry about delivery. It was like, how are we actually going to grow? And then coming out the other end, I had those kind of feelings of, can I do it anymore? Do I want to do it anymore? Have I got the motivation for it? So, it's difficult. It's been really difficult.
Well, the whole journey's been accelerated there, hasn't it? Because like you said, eventually you would have learnt it.
Yeah.
But this is, the situation with Jack. And, from some perspective, and I urge the listeners not to judge in any way, shape or form, I'm just putting myself in your seat, in your shoes of running a workshop on Zoom, next to your son who's got leukemia, being sick, and you're still trying to run your business. So what I'm saying to everyone, remove any form of judgment, because the other reality is this: your family was dependent on the money that you're taking from the business.
Yeah, it pays the bills, doesn't it?
And you needed to do that for the family.
Yeah.
And did you ever feel the pressure? Did you ever feel it?
Yeah, big time. I absolutely. So,
did you ever cry?
I did, not because of work. Not because of work. I did because of what was happening to Jack, what I could see happening. It was like everything that you could imagine, anything that's degrading that could happen to a 12-year-old kid happened to Jack. And it was just from hair loss to all the different side effects of chemotherapy and all the ailments and the pains and all that kind of stuff. So that was upsetting to me, but I never showed it to anyone else, because I am the positive one, or at least I thought that's my role. I've got to tell everyone that everything's okay. Jack needs to see that everything's going to be okay. So I felt the pressure of the work thing. I went through periods of doubt which I've never had it in my life ever. I've always been like, everything turns out all right in the end, and I was a firm believer of that. And there was a period of time when I was in hospital when I thought, that's not the case, and it was frightening. I was 43 years old, and it's just dawned on me what I believed all my life. isn't true, and it would freak me out big time. And I thought, okay, so we might have a business at the end of this, but I might have to scale everything back, start again. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to carry it on because I don't know what situation I've been with Jack. So I had doubt had crept into my mind for the first time, which was, again, when you're in hospital, time sometimes goes fast, sometimes it goes really slow, and you have a lot of thinking time. I got Jack to, I had a blank pad, and I got him to draw like a road on the front of it with a roundabout at the end, and roads come off the side. There's an old Turkish proverb, which is, it doesn't matter how far down a road you go, you can always turn round. So that was my thought, is I get Jack to draw that, and it became my book of definitions, and I was just writing down just words like resilience and writing the definition of it. And when I was getting, and it went on, I've got the book, and it's got quite a few pages, but it's really helpful because I kept referring to it when I was having these times of doubt, thinking, what am I going to do? Why am I thinking negative thoughts? I was thinking some really dark stuff that your mind, you can't stop yourself thinking when you're in that situation. Then I referred to this book, and it would just kind of realign my mind with reality. And actually, the business and work and all these other problems, they weren't actual problems. What was happening with Jack, that was real, that was massive, bigger than anything. And having come out the other side, and I say this with well, it's true, there are no problems anymore. So problems with the business, things try, but they're not real problems.
They don't hurt you anymore.
Nah, not at all. And if I can carry on like that for a year, happy days. If I can carry on like that for the rest of my life, then I will die happy, because it's put everything into perspective. All the things that I thought were important before, not all of them, they might not be as important, and the things that are really truly important now are my focus.
Did you ever doubt Jack's recovery?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Have you ever admitted that?
No, I haven't.
When did that happen?
So it happened when he first got diagnosed, and I'd read what I'd read. He had AML leukemia, which is more aggressive type. The most common type is ALL, which is what you see with most kids who've got leukemia. AML is more aggressive. So when I spooked myself after Googling, which again, never do that, I was worried that we'd have a really bad outcome, the worst outcome. He went through 3 rounds of chemotherapy. The first 2 were quite positive. So the first one put him into remission, which is something that everybody wants to hear. The second one, he was still in remission. We got the results back from Great Ormond Street, but it hadn't completely gone. So they put him in for a bone marrow transplant. And then we had the 3rd round, which was like a bridging therapy. And basically, because it wasn't working as well as I'd been told it might, because of the early signs, I doubted whether it was going to happen, whether he was going to be able to recover from it. And he went through hell. And when I was watching him, there was times when I was thinking, I don't know what he's going to come out like. What will be the outcome? Is he going to grow? All the rest of the things that could happen. And I'm pleased to say that they've not happened. He's come out the other side, and he's doing well.
When you go back to that moment of delivering the workshop,
yeah,
and this is in the peak of it for Jack, isn't it? He's been sick in the sort of. If you just look at yourself there, just like almost like out of body experience right now, just go back to that moment, look at yourself trying to do that workshop. Jack's been sick. What do you see?
So, I basically see an idiot, if I'm being honest, because I just didn't want to let the clients down. I didn't want to not do what I'd said I'd promised. I didn't want to lose revenue, and I didn't want to show any signs of kind of weakness or wheels falling off, anything like that. But in reflection, none of that mattered. If I'd have cancelled the workshop, no one would have said a thing. Why would they?
What was the best decision you made following that? So the best decision I made, so
number one was I was going to come out of any projects that I was working on personally. Every meeting I had to move at least once. It was ridiculous, and I just thought this is going to have an adverse effect. And I did lose a couple of projects, so it wasn't kind of plain sailing. So, yeah, the best decision was to remove myself from the day to day and to let other people get on with it. My team had said to me on a couple of occasions, just back off, Rowan, just back off in the nicest possible way. Just let us do it. Let us do it. And if we need your help, we'll call you. But concentrate on Jack. Just do that. And when I was able to do that, and I'd listened to them, there was a huge kind of weight off my shoulders, because it was like, okay, well, what will be. I'll concentrate on Jack. He's the most important thing, and the rest of my family, obviously. And yeah, it worked. No, they didn't let me down. They all stepped up, and all the clients knew what was going on. So yeah, I think if I'd have kind of clung on trying to be in control of things and running everything from hospital, I think I would have dropped the ball numerous times. But in the end, I didn't actually drop the ball at all, as far as I know.
Okay, so making the decision to get out of all projects and give the responsibility to the team to step up.
Yeah.
How did that pan out?
It worked well. So, the clients have been happy. What it showed me is, or all of us, is that some of the job roles that I've given people weren't right. I tried to give everybody their dream job when they joined AudienceLink. Don't know why. It's probably the kind of person I am, but it doesn't work out like that. So people started falling a little bit more naturally into positions that they were good at and comfortable with. It allowed me to concentrate on the strategic side of it. So systems, processes, and there are kind of the vision, mission, values. We that's not really changed, but the proper 10-year plan, the 5-year picture, 3-year picture, the 90-day goals that we kind of worked to, it gave me the time to really dig very deep into that and make sure that they were right. And again, that has proven to be really successful, having come out of the hospital situation, having done all the reflection and reviewed everything that we were talking about as business. We'd actually lost focus as a business, because although we knew we needed to grow, that was our biggest issue. It's what we talked about, but we weren't talking about the right things. We weren't doing the right things to actually make that growth happen.
Were you in denial?
How do you mean in denial?
Pretending that we're focusing on the right thing when you actually knew you weren't?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if it was in denial, but probably thinking that it was going to work out. Something had land. Something had happened. We made meetings with clients, and but what we were doing wrong is we'd meet with a client, we'd send them, have a good meeting, send them a proposal, and think, that's coming in, or we've got a good chance at that. But then we'd kind of leave it, and almost hope that it was coming in. And I think that there's a calculation in there. You'll know this better than me. It's something like 7 hours of content, 4 platforms, 11 touch points.
4, yeah.
That's it. So this is one of the things that I reviewed, because I looked at all the new business opportunities we had, and I thought, high level, what we've done against that calculation, it was nothing. And then, more recently, we've done things the right way, and I'm really happy to say that we have found growth at the end of this year, which is incredible. It's an incredible end to the toughest year of my life. So I don't think I was in denial. I thought that something would happen, something would drop in, and I think this is probably around the time when I started doubting that things weren't just going to turn out like that. But I didn't really have the answers either. I had people trying, but I'd not been able to induct them properly. I'd not been able to give them enough time to set them up for success, which again is something that I would pass on to everyone, is that if you do bring people in who are going to affect your growth, you've got to invest a lot of your time in them and coach them and manage them and give them everything that they need, because they're not, if you're expecting them to be able to do what you did or what you do because it's your business, it's your idea, it's much easier to talk about something that you've done and you've created than something that somebody else has done. You have to invest that time for it to truly happen.
You know, I'm getting a number of things from this in terms of what you're doing as a business, but I really need to come back to Jack for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happened? Where is he now? How's he doing?
Yeah. So
how are you doing?
Yeah. So Jack, he went for a bone marrow transplant in Manchester Children's Hospital, and they saved his life. So there is a 26-year-old German guy somewhere who gave up his bone marrow, which is incredible. And Jack went through the bone marrow transplant, which isn't a pretty thing. It was hard for him, but you know, his latest results are he's 100% donor. His leukemia's gone. He's still in recovery, but his hair's growing back. He's looking really well. You know, he's as mad as my other kids. He's got amazing friends, and he's happy. So Jack's doing really well, and it will take time, but all the signs are there that he is on, you know, the road to complete recovery. And once we get to 2 years post transplant, he's got as much chance as you or I as a relapse or as cancer, which is just incredible. So what they've done is saved his life and saved all of our lives, basically, because the worst outcome would be unbearable. How am I? I'm buzzing. Is probably the way that I would describe it. So I came out of hospital feeling reborn, like Jack literally has been reborn. He's got completely new DNA and everything. And I came out thinking, right, you know, this is it now. Here we go again. And that probably went on for about 2 weeks, and then the harsh reality hit me that we're not growing. We're still not growing. I need to do something about it. And we got together as a team, and we stick to this level 10 meeting plan, and we do it well. It's well policed, but the setting of 90-day goals is actually quite difficult. And you know, the books and my coach will say it doesn't happen first time, doesn't happen second time. I reckon we've probably been 5 rounds since we started doing it. We've never got it right. So I wanted to know why we've never got it right. And we invested a lot of time looking at the 90-day goals for this quarter. And it was all about growth, really, really focused. Anything else that comes in that's not about this, you know, we park it, put it out. And it's the best thing we've ever done as a business. So for me, I'm like, I feel really focused. All the reflection I've done in whilst I was in hospital and all the planning, I feel like for the first time in my life, I know exactly who I want to be, where I want to be, and what I need to do to get there. And that's an incredible feeling, because I'm 43 and it's taken me 43 years of wondering and asking myself, and I feel like I actually know that, which is an incredible feeling. And now I can go into putting a roadmap to support that plan and being really deliberate with what we actually do. I feel like the dream is back on. So the second year, which we never had, is about to happen, and there's nothing that's going to stop us. So I'm really excited.
It's really powerful what you just shared, actually, for the listeners. You know, for the first time in your life in 43 years, you know very clearly who you want to be. You know very clearly of where you want to be, and you know really clearly of how you're going to get there, which is a nice little mini framework for everyone listening right now. And I've made note of a few critical ingredients in getting to this point. Number one was taking yourself off projects. So I'm going to phrase this positively, getting out of your team's way. Yeah. Empowering them and giving them the responsibility and autonomy and authority to be in charge and step up, giving them the responsibility. So getting out of their way, getting off the projects. Then you actually said, almost in a throwaway comment, but it wasn't a throwaway comment, you focus on the strategy, on the vision, on where you're going. And then the third bit of the jigsaw here is 90-day planning. In actual fact, you said, we've been 5 times and we've not got this 90-day plan yet, right yet. And it's like muscle planning, isn't it? The more you go to the gym, the bigger your muscles get. The more you go to this planning, and then finally you've got it right. And you kind of said because of focus. Yeah. If it's not to do with this, it's not going in the plan. Yeah. Say no to that, say no to that. Let's, boom. Do your team do the planning with you?
They did this time. Yeah, they did this time. And this was the biggest thing. So when we've set 90-day goals before, we'd go into the goal setting meeting and I'd already know what they are. And they'd probably already assume that I know what they are, and it kind of always ends up going that way. This time we put everything down, all the issues and priorities and what everybody thought could be 90-day goals, or rocks as we call them. And we went through a process of basically, prioritising them, and we ended up with the ones that are at the top. They were all financial goals. So we ended up with, what's our walking figure? So at the start of the month, what have we got already booked? What does that need to be, and what do we need to do to get there? What's our client development figure? So, what can we take to our clients to help them? What are the projects we talk to them about, or we would like to talk to them about? And what do we need to do to make that happen? And the third one was all about new business. So it's like, what do we need to do to generate new opportunities? And that's what we ended up focusing on. And the other things that we wanted to do, they didn't make it to the 90-day goals. It'll be a different story, in Q1 next year, probably. But that's the beauty of it. But you're right, it's being so focused on it. I've got it written on the whiteboard next to my desk in big letters at the top, is just focus. And it's like, if we had to strip all our values as a business and have one, it's actually not one of our values, but I would just have it as focus. For this quarter, we've got to focus on what we've got to do, and we've done it. And I think, so we will take a lot of learning from that, but we were all involved. So everyone's bought into it. I took the vision off the table, the big targets, all the aspirational stuff, we got it off. And it's like, right, we make it realistic, we make it, achievable, and we make it really deliberate, what we've got to do, measurable. And this is why I'm buzzing. And, that doubt that I talked about is gone. And my belief of, everything will be all right in the end is totally back. Because if you are focused and you are driven and you're resilient and you keep working hard and you do your best, then, these things will happen in a business sense. In terms of Jack, I've seen a miracle happen before my eyes. He's more resilient than anyone I've ever met in my life. So for me not to be would be ridiculous, having watched a 12-year-old, do what he's done. And the positive outcome from him, the positive outcome for the business, it's like it feels like nothing can knock us. But I think being focused on his recovery, which is what we've talked about, and being focused on what the business needs to do, has gone hand in hand with me just feeling like I'm back in the zone. I'm feeling good. I'm surrounded by positive people, and we're riding a wave again.
Do you feel like you've evolved as a manager, as a leader, or as a human being? All three. So I think as a manager, it's really interesting this, and it felt like a little thing, but it's not. It's probably the most important thing is, let me just think of how to explain this. So there was probably a time before Jack where every time I was on a phone call to one of the people in my team, I'd get another phone call from a client. I would go back, I'm just going to take this call, I'll get back to you. I'd have a meeting, like a one-to-one or something like that, and I'd move it for a client thing, because it was client. And I think that one of the biggest things that I learned through all of this was basically to be really candid with people in my team, and for them to be able to be really candid with me. What is candor?
It's basically, talking straight to people, being real with them, but caring, but not pretending you care, like genuinely caring, because the relationships and the things that you talk about when you talk about that, about people, the people that you're working with, when you invest in what's happening with them, because it was all about me, it was all about Jack, and I didn't want the bad things to be hidden from me. I needed to know them, so we had to have that level of, not honesty, no one's being dishonest, but tell each other how it is, for us to get to what we need to do. And everybody's got stuff going on in their own lives. So I think, it's like the caring, being candid with each other. It made a massive difference in carving that time out
in your management style.
And carving the time out for the people who I've now empowered to do the job. I think that's made a massive difference. I think as a leader, I've always thought I could kind of flip my leadership approach to any that the textbook might give you. But the one that I've always favoured is kind of leading from the front, so working harder than anybody else, and doing a bigger number than anyone else, and making more calls and all that kind of good stuff. And I've been forced into not doing that. So actually, it's been a bit more of a planful and thoughtful approach. But I've always been thinking what's happening 5 years ahead, and I've definitely not lost sight of that. But instead of saying to people, this is where we're going, this is where we're going, you're going, this is where we're going, but this is what we've got to do now to support that. In fact, forget about that. Let's focus on what we're doing now. And I know this is where it all supports it. But for us as a team, let's just focus on the here and now, which is what they were kind of crying out for. And then as a human being, I think that I've just found like a real faith in people, in positive people, and not people who say things that you want to hear and you want to jump on the bandwagon and kind of clang on to your coattails. It's like people who genuinely care, genuinely support you, and everybody wants to offer advice in certain ways, and I'm open to advice from everyone, and I suppose there's been bits of advice at different times. I'll reference this one lady, Sharon Benson. She's been like a fairy godmother to me. And the times where she's called me in when I've been in hospital in a period of doubt, and she's just said, "This isn't you. You've got to manifest. You know what you've got to do. Pull your act together, sort yourself out. You be focused. Don't lose who you are, and all the rest of this good stuff." But coming from someone at that point, at that time, I've gone, I believe, yeah, you're right. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that coming from a place where I felt like I was winging it a little bit, like everything was all good, like, I'm kind of leading the way, is actually, I've always been humble, but I'm like, I'm in awe of everybody else around me, and I'm open to advice. I've been very open-minded. And I suppose it's probably a bad answer to the question, but I suppose it comes back to that knowing who I want to be part. I think as a human and as a dad, I feel much more comfortable in my own skin all of a sudden, which is an amazing feeling.
So, I mean, when you answer the question like, "This is who I want to be," do you define it in like 4 or 5 words, or do you define it in one sentence?
Yeah, I thought you might ask me this actually. So, I want to be the best dad. That's the foremost thing. I want to be the best dad, and the best other half to my other half, and that is what I've always wanted to be. But I want to work less. I don't want it to. I want to spend quality time. I want to be there and help him with the day-to-day stuff. But I want to create dreams for him. I want to be the best manager. So I want to be more of a coach to my staff. I want to think more about what they need, about their own development, and not try and kind of put them into holes that they don't fit into or anything like that. And I think I want to be a better leader. So it's kind of all the things that you've pretty much pointed to in your last question. So I want to inspire change. So that's what my business is all about. I've got a couple of businesses and they're all about the same thing. I want to make, basically my mission is to solve the staffing crisis in health and social care and other essential services. And that's what I want to do. I actually want to, inspire change and be a thought leader on that.
There was a book that was written on the 5 biggest regrets in life, and it was built on research, and they researched people on the deathbed that were dying.
Yeah.
And the some of what you've just said are the biggest regrets in life that people have when they're 70, 80-year-old, just about to die.
Yeah. And
they said, "I wish I had the courage to be true to myself and not what everyone else thought and that I should be," which is your straight talking thing. But then it also said, I wish I didn't work so hard. And that's what you just said, really.
Yeah.
And quite powerful. And then another thing is, I wish I'd let myself be happier.
Mm.
Which I'm just relating to your first point that you said there. Be the best dad. Be the best husband. Be happy. Happiness is about deep relationships with the people that matter most in your life. Happiness is not about fame and fortune. You know, that's not what you can have as much money as you want. It don't give you happiness.
Yeah.
You can be as famous as you want. It doesn't give you happiness.
You're dead right.
But you develop meaningful, deep relationships with people that matter most in your life, and you'll be so happy.
Yeah. So in my my book of definitions, right? So I tried to define what happiness is, because I went through a period of not being very happy.
What is it then?
So this is just my take on it. Yeah. So I believe that if you can accept the world for what it is, which is that it's sometimes unfair, that people are sometimes not very nice, and that you don't always get what you want. You don't always get the outcomes of what you want, even if you feel you deserve them. So if you can truly accept that, then you'll see that the world is quite a beautiful thing. And I think the other part of it is, if you work hard and you do your best, then those moments when you go to bed at night and you think, well, this is what I do. And I think, was that a good day? And if you've done everything that you could have done to make that a good day, you've got no regrets. And I think that if you can have those two things, where you've got an acceptance of the way it is, which isn't perfect, it isn't fair, and you can do your best, and truly, even if you don't get it right, because you've accepted that, then you can be happy. You can go to bed with a smile on your face. And I think if I could pass that on to my kids, then I would be even happier, because I think it's difficult. There's a lot of unhappy people out there, and you're right, there's a lot of people that I know who are very well off and they've done it in business. I don't think they're happy. And this is one of the things that I've learned from, right from childhood, is that there's a lot of people who give up on life, and they carry on doing the same things, and it's kind of, that's their legacy. And it doesn't have to be like that. So that's my philosophy anyway. It's
a really good one, and do pass it on to your kids, and you've passed it on to everybody on here as well. So going to bed with a smile on your face. Have I done my best today? Be your best every day. If little Jack was here right now, what would he say to you? He's not that little anymore, is he?
He's not that little anymore, no. What would he say to me? I don't know. He'd probably come up with some funny, sarky comment, because he'd be embarrassed that his dad's doing this. We were in hospital the other day, and he was just coming around from a biopsy, so we've been under general anaesthetic, and he's a little bit out of it. He's dead funny when he's like that, and he can't remember this, but he put his arm around me and he pulled me right in, put my head on his head, and he just said, "Thank you for everything that you do. You don't know how much it means to me. You've saved me," is what he said. And he wouldn't say that if he was here now, but that's just incredible.
Yeah, he's incredible, isn't it? I mean, I'm really emotional listening to that.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you've done for me. I wouldn't be here right now. You've saved me.
I know, and he don't even remember saying that.
But those words are so beautiful, aren't they? They're angelic.
Yeah.
I'm really emotional saying that. You could literally use those words for people in your life, couldn't you?
Yeah.
That have been there for you, and just thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know what you've done for me.
Yeah.
You saved me.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done this without you. It's just that level of appreciation, heartfelt, from the heart. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good lesson, Jack. He's teaching us all.
He is.
You better listen to that, folks. Yeah. If you're a leader or manager of a business, that level of appreciation from the heart, straight talking and caring, isn't it? Was it head on head type thing?
Head on head, yeah. And then he just sat back and went on his phone or whatever he did.
And
I
they
just
said, "Come on, you Reds."
Yeah, the wrong Reds though. Yeah.
And what's the best book you've ever read on business?
So there's been a few really meaningful ones. So I read Traction and Clockwork, which is where the level 10 thing came from, and that's really helped with
Clockwork is on time management by Mike Malkowicz. It's
Yeah.
efficiencies in your business and
Yeah.
systemization of processes. Traction is it's kind of like vision and operating systems.
Yeah, so that's really helped because I've been able to literally manage my business from hospital in one meeting a week, which is just incredible. I read the Steve Peters book, which is the
Paradox.
which wow, I mean that was I took so much from that. Radical Candor was another one which kind of got
Which
me.
is straight talking and caring.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's been a few, but they're probably the standout ones for me.
Nice. What's the most beautiful thing in this world?
What's the most beautiful thing in this world? I think it's really, really tough question to answer that, and the only way I can think to answer this is when I think right. So when things are tough, when things are really tough, or when things are hard, as you're on the way up to sorting them, that feeling is a beautiful feeling, and I think that goes across everything. And quite often when you get there, it's a bit of a moment, and there's so many different descriptions of that. And people wonder why, even if they achieve their goals, why they're not happy. And it's because that feeling of making it happen, that drive and everything, that feeling of progress and all that is, for me, that is a beautiful thing that you can't touch, you can't see. But it's like, and you go searching for it, even when you've hit your goal. So you've heard stories about people who've hit a world record and they're like, everyone's like, wow, you've broke the world record. Yeah, but I didn't break it by very much. But all of that training and that you did, at some point, that feeling, that for me is the most beautiful thing. And so if I put it to Jack, is that, his road to recovery, and the day that we found out that, you know what, you're going to be all right. And every bit of progress that you see from then is all been that feeling. So you've been right down there, and all that feeling is just incredible. And it's been the same with the business. Even just this week, as I mentioned, we've got our first significant growth of the year. So it's been a fairy tale ending to the toughest year of my life. And it's like, we're not there yet. We've not achieved all the goals, but it's like that feeling of, we're going to do it. We're back on. It's game on. It's like, if you're playing football, you've got a goal down and suddenly you've got to go back, and it's like, you've not won the game yet, but that feeling, it's better than winning the game because you're doing it. I think for me, that's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're building momentum. You're moving forward. You can feel it inside. Yeah. There's a flow. There's a certain flow about the way you're moving.
Yeah.
Nice. What's the best gift you can give anyone?
What's the best gift? I think it's what do I think is the best gift you can give anyone? I think it's belief, and I don't mean that in a religious sense, although that's probably important to some people. I think if you can help people to believe that it's going to happen, whatever it is, I think that's quite a special thing, and not everyone can do that. But I think that's probably what it is.
And, for the listeners that have listened to this point right now, as a business owner of a small business that's dependent on them and they can't grow it without them, what's the first action they should take?
If they haven't got one already, is get a coach. I think that everybody needs a coach, possibly more than one for different things in their life.
And if they have got a coach?
And if they have got a coach, to raise it with their coach, because I don't think it's true, and I can be testament to that. I think that there's a lot of people that think, yeah, it's only me that can do this, and I think, well, I know the answer is, but that's because you're probably doing it in the wrong way. You've probably either got the wrong people, or you've got the wrong systems and processes, or you haven't let go enough. And don't wait to be forced to be let go, because if the thing with Jack hadn't happened and I'd achieved my year 2 goals, then there's been so many things that would be amazing. But when we achieve our proper year 2 next year, and it's not all because of me, that'll be a better feeling, much better feeling. So I think that you've got to think about getting the right people who share the same values as you. You've got to empower them. You've got to trust them. And for me, there's no like bad ideas. And if people make mistakes, brilliant. As long as you learn from them, then brilliant. We want mistakes. My first ever sales job was door-to-door sales, and it drilled into me that the more no's you get, I used to love it, because then there's going to be a yes somewhere, and it's true. And I think that for me, it's like you've got to let people do what you've hired them for, and you'll probably find that they're better at doing that than what you are. And it'll allow you to do the things that you want to do. And that's my next goal, is that, in that kind of fun and skills quadrant that you do, is that right up there in the top right corner, things that are most valuable to me, most valuable to the business, the things that I really light me up, that's what I want to end up doing. But you can't achieve that unless you invest in people.
There's a few bits of this conversation that I've really enjoyed. From a business perspective, when you said 5 90-day plans in, and we finally got it right. And how did we do it? Got the team involved, got them committed, got them coming up with the stuff as well, kept it to focus, said no to this stuff, focus on this stuff, kept it really clean, got the team involved. Really enjoyed that. But hands down, my favourite part is what Jack said to you last week.
Yeah.
That connection, the image of father and son. They've been through something together, head on head. Thanks, Dad.
Powerful, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, connect to people is what I want to encourage everyone. Connection, love, companionship, empowerment, support. Absolutely beautiful. What's been your favourite part
of this conversation? Do you know what? I think it's basically what you just said, to be honest with you. So all of those words are in my book of definitions, and it just, I don't know, it makes me, I don't know what the word is. I don't know if it's proud, but it just feels like, I don't know. It's pretty magic, just reflecting on what has been a really, really tough situation, and kind of speaking to you and going through it like we have. It makes me really proud that I've done certain things in the right way. So proud of my team. So proud of my team. So getting the chance to kind of reflect on that and talk through how they have stepped up and how they told me to back off and all that kind of stuff. It's all, so true. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't know, reflecting on the times with Jack and, that I did doubt it and things like that, I haven't actually been that open about that. So that's been quite nice as well.
Any final words for the team, for Jack and the family?
Well, I mean, for Jack and the family, they know it anyway. I do it all for them, and we're going to have an amazing time and an amazing life, and they know that. It's going to happen. I'll never let them down. And for my team, I think it's, I couldn't have done this without them. And although I tried to give them all a dream job, which they'll probably chuckle about, I'm as invested in their dream board as I am in my own. And it's gonna happen. There's nothing that's gonna stop us. And we're doing things in the right way, and it feels really good. But they're awesome. They're absolutely awesome. They're the best team you could have.
Rowan Marriott, thank you very much indeed.
Absolute pleasure.